Hello, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hey, I'm Carissa Shaylin. I'm a mom to a 2-year-old as well as a wife to a mechanical engineer. And if you're not new here, well, hey, welcome back. I'm super glad to have you. I post every Wednesday and Friday and occasional Monday at 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. If you haven't already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you know when we're posting. Today, grab your cup of coffee or your water or your tea or whatever, because we're gonna chit chat and talk some books. This is my monthly book review of all the books that I read throughout the month. This month I went completely ham and I read 18 books this month. So good. This month was a great book month. A lot of new books came out this month. I found a lot of new books. If you aren't following me on Instagram, go head over there if you need some more book motivation. Also follow me on TikTok because I do strictly book content on my TikTok. I also have a Goodreads account, so if you want to follow me over there and see what I'm reading when I'm reading it, go follow me there. So like I said, I got 15 different books, or 18 different books. All of these are on Kindle Unlimited. I do read from my Kindle. So I read from my Kindle. My Kindle is my best friend and I'm so thankful for this. It lets me read anywhere on the go without my eyes getting hurt or having notifications pop up everywhere. If you don't have a Kindle, I do have a link down in the description box below that leads you to a Kindle if you need one. Like I said, Kindle Unlimited is what I read from 100% of the time pretty much. I will specify in any of my videos if it's not on KU, but I do believe that KU is the best for bang for your buck. If you read more than 2 books a month, I highly encourage you to do KU because it's only $10 a month and books are expensive. So with that being said, let's get into the books that I read. So this month I read, starting off, if I haven't said this already, all the book covers will be right here the whole time I talk, and I will put my recommendations and the spice level of the books right here. Also, if I haven't said, I read raunchy romance novels, spicy romance novels, smut romance novels, whatever you want to call it, new adult romance. I don't care what you call it, but yes, and I'm not ashamed of it, and I am very proud that I have something that is giving me me time. Alright, I've had this 3-minute intro, so let's go. Let's talk books. So the first book I read this month was part of a series that is still incomplete. It's the Anarchy from the Hades series by Tate James. This book is a 15 out of 10. It was a 4 on my spice level. It was chef's kiss. If you've never read a Tate James book, she is the queen. Hand that girl her crown of cliffhangers. So if you're not a fan of cliffhangers or anything like that, I recommend waiting until September for this whole series to be out. But if you are reading along with the Hades series, this was book 2, Anarchy. All I'm gonna say is, like, that cliffhanger, I'm still not okay. I will go about my day and, like, think about it and I'm just like, what? And because the whole series is not out, I'm not gonna dive in too much, but pretty much Hades has a bunch of clubs. She is a badass female main character. This is a reverse harem, so if you're into that, it's all good. If you've never heard of what a reverse harem is, it is when you have to have at least 3 guys and the main character will get a happy ending with all of the guys, and she doesn't pick one. So it has to be at least 3 guys then. So with that being said, her guys are Lucas, Zed, and Cass, and she was already starting to have more of a relationship with Lucas in the first book. The second book, she actually starts getting her relationship further along with Cass, which, girl, we love Daddy Cass, so I'm excited about that. And the plot is just getting thicker and thicker with Chase. Yeah, I'm not gonna dive too deep because it is incomplete and I want y'all to try to read this one without spoilers. So, Driven is by Kate Bromberg is, this book was amazing. Like, it is a book of four books, plus there's like a fifth book, and I'll talk about that in a minute. This was a 15 out of 10 for me as well. The spice level was a 4. Colton and Riley are the cutest couple. Riley is a social worker and Colton is a professional IndyCar driver. She works for this company, Corporate Cares, and she puts on a fundraiser trying to get more money for her nonprofit that helps orphan kids or foster kids live in one house, and like they're not put into the foster care system. They get to grow their own like family within the boys and everything. So she has the chance encounter of running into Colton, who is the IndyCar driver at this charity, and he wants a date with her, and she pretty much is like, nah, it's not gonna happen, we're not gonna date. And lo and behold, this auction is a date auction, and she is thrown into the auction because one of her girls dropped out, and lo and behold, Colton wins a date with her. Their love progresses. They have tribulations. Colton's past is really, really dark, that you go through the book and you figure out the emotions with him. And with Riley being a social worker, of course, it kind of helps bring out Colton, and Colton finally understanding how to love again. He doesn't like the words I love you. It triggers him to his past. It's a beautifully wonderful book. Their novella, which is the 4th book, it's a pretty long book, to be honest. It deals with PPD, postpartum depression, and that is beautifully written. I think that it's one of the most amazing books, due to most books end with a happily ever after. They get pregnant, they have a baby, great, wonderful, and life is grand. Well, sometimes that doesn't happen. Coming from somebody who did have postpartum anxiety and a little bit of the depression side, it was honestly beautifully written to understand the inside of a head of somebody who has that, and that it's okay to not be okay, and it's okay to ask for help, even though you're not possibly like connecting with your baby right away. It's okay, like, to ask for help and to get that help when you need it. That's one of my favorite parts of this entire series. Now, I told you there's a 5th book. Well, this 5th book is just Colton's point of view on some of the scenes in the 1st book, which is Driven. So it goes Driven, Fueled, Crashed, Aced, and then Raced. Raced is written in Colton's point of view for Driven. The other 2 books are dual point of view with Colton and Riley. I think it's beautifully well written. This book is also been turned into, at least the 1st book so far. The 2nd season is coming, which is the 2nd book, on Passionflix. Passionflix is like a romance novel, like Netflix. It's low budget. It's founded by Elon Musk's sister, so it was really good. It's a little cheesy, but it was really good. So if you read the book, I highly suggest going and getting passion flicks for a little bit so you can see the whole book kind of get played out. All right, the next one is Drive. I do have in this a couple of different like love triangles, and since I like, or I shouldn't say like, I love reverse harem books, love triangles are really hard for me to accept. Why pick one when you can choose all of them and have a happily ever after? But sometimes that's just not going to be possible, and that's okay. So the next book is a love triangle. It's called Drive by Kate Stewart. I think I put this one at like a 13 out of 10 with a 3 spice level. If I can't remember on my Instagram what I did. I will put the real ones, what I put here. This is with Stella, Nate, and Reed. The thing that I love about this book is that there's a playlist to go with it, so you can listen to the playlist while reading the book. That's the fabulous thing that Kate Stewart does, which I also forgot to mention in Drive. They have like a whole music thing too. So check it out on Spotify. But for the Driven series. But for Drive, there's a whole playlist as well. Kate Stewart is amazing with putting music to books and how music can really tell a story without having to say too much. It like says everything for you. So Drive is about Stella, who is about to start college down in Austin. She's living with her sister, and her sister's best friend is Reed, and Reed is part of this band, and he's just like this, I wouldn't say he's like a low life, but he just spends too much time and energy into everything else, and he sends all the money to his parents, so he's always broke. But that never bothered Stella. She just wants him to be happy, and she's trying to break into the music world as a writer, so she goes to Austin to be able to get in the music scene, and then she goes to a magazine that is ran by Nate, who is this handsome guy. She thinks he's just like wonderful. She gets together with Reed and watches their band grow and is writing for the magazine behind the cover, like kind of thing. And then Reed drops out and it's like, I need to go help my parents. Like, I can't stay here. I can't afford it. Everything like that. So the band breaks up and she's just devastated. She really loved Reed. A few months go by and then she's really starting to work for Nate. And then her and Nate finally eventually get together and everything's great. She graduates from college. She's writing for his big magazine. The magazine is getting really big. And then Reed's band gets signed. And Reed is part of it, and they're the up and coming, and now they want to do an exclusive interview for her magazine. And that's when things get turned upside down, and she now has to pick between Reed and Nate. Who she will choose? You have to wait the entire book to figure out who she ends up choosing, but it's really good. It's really interesting how it all forms and how she becomes who she is and becomes this big ticket exclusive music writer for like Rolling Stone and her own podcast. It was great. The next one is Gravity. Oh my god, this is a love triangle too, and I cannot stop talking about this book. Like, I find it so fantastic. This is by Sarah Kate. I gave it a 15 out of 10, a 4 or 5 on the spice level. I can't quite. But like, this book was crazy. It is with Zara, Nash, Nash and Alistair. Sorry, I'm like brain farting now. So this takes place, Alistair is this huge billionaire who owns a helicopter company and designs helicopters and owns a private island called Del Mar. And if I remember correctly, it was like a small like tidbit in the book. It's off like the Carolinas coast. So the mainland, I believe, would be North Carolina or South Carolina. So her twin sister, and Preston, who is Nash's brother, this starts off at the beginning of the book, were dating. They fly to the mainland for this convention and their helicopter gets in a crash and they die, unfortunately. And 2 years later, Zara is working in a strip club trying to make ends meet and live life, and it is what it is kind of a deal. And Nash comes in and finds her and takes her back to her apartment, and they do their thing and he leaves. Just all really quick, simple. He leaves. Then Alistair comes to the club and finds her and realizes that Nash isn't the same anymore after Preston died, and they just he wants her to fix Nash and become Nash again and take over the company, because Alistair wants to retire eventually. So he moves her to Del Mar and offers her $1 million if she lasts at least 3 months, and if it continues to be better, he'll tack on another $1 million for every month after. Who wouldn't do that deal, by the way? She feels like he is really attractive, so obviously there's an age gap thing. Alistair's also attracted to Zara, and Nash and Zara are attracted to each other. So that's where the love triangle forms. So she's in between the son and the dad, kind of a thing. They each need her to heal, and she needs both of them to heal about her sister's death. They end up finding comfort in each other. Nash just wanted to use Zara as like an in-between, I guess, in a way. He wants to like get back at his dad for not being as happy. I don't know. It was like a weird thing. And then they come to sharing Zara, so Zara would go in between beds, and then eventually they realize that this won't work as a collective, so Zara ends up leaving, and one of them she ends up choosing one at the end. I will let that kind of sit there. Then you have Freefall, which is like an extension to, it's the second book of the Wild Men series, and it's Nash's point, so I guess you kind of see who she chose right there. Nash goes off to Amsterdam and meets Elias, and Elias is his dad's friend. They end up hooking up in Amsterdam and things get together. Once he comes back to Del Mar, he takes over the company, and Hannah, who is Zara's friend, needs like a getaway, and so she's like, hey, go stay on Del Mar. Nash is there, but he's not gonna do anything. He's just like working his business, so go ahead, stay there. So Nash, Hannah, and are staying on the island. Then Alistair thinks that Nash needs help with the company, so he brings in Elias, and the three of them kind of form a relationship. This is an MMF book, which means both the males are in a relationship with the female, and both the males are also in a relationship with each other. So if you like that kind of book, go for it. It was really good. It's not my top favorite, but I preferred Zara's book better, so Gravity was a little bit better for me. The next one, it's kind of like a 3-book series. that are all standalones. I compare them kind of to the TL Swans, like the Miles Boys and the Mister series. It kind of has those kind of feels. The first one is Dr. Mitchell, which is Jake and Ash's relationship. And one thing that I'll say about these 3 books so far, there are going to be 6 of them, but one thing that I've noticed about these books is that there is no epilogue at the end of these books. And I found that the epilogue kind of happens within the next few stories. You kind of find out what happens to these couples in the next stories with the other people. So if you really liked a couple, you kind of almost have to read the next story to find out what's going on with them, and so forth. So Ash and Jake's story have transferred into the next 3 books very seamlessly without like pushing their story, but you find out more about them. So Ash and Jake, for Dr. Mitchell, Ash is a poor, she's not poor, but she's was taking money from her cousins to help pay for her mom's death funeral bills, as well as her dad's having heart issues and blood pressure issues, that she goes and gets invited to the wedding and she feels obligated to go, and it's in San Francisco. At the same time, she meets up with some high school friends that were up there and who were in a medical convention, and lo and behold, a date that earlier that day she spilled coffee on this very handsome gentleman and pretty much walked away from it. Lo and behold, that doctor would be at the medical convention after party, and he meets back up with her, and he's like, hey, we should hang out, and she's like, nah, like, sorry. Then she goes to a wedding, and he is a groomsman at the wedding, and they hook up, and that was the end of it. Like, they thought one night stand, one and done, gone. A year later, her father has a heart attack and ends up in Dr. Mitchell's hands. He is the world-renowned cardiac surgeon down at St. John's in LA, and so when they find out, they kind of go, well, we're supposed to kind of be together, so they start seeing each other while her dad's also recovering. She is an artist and everything like that, which plays a part because she works for an art gallery that his brother Jim frequents and buys art from, and the relationship builds. Of course, there's a bunch of twists and turns. I'm not gonna give up too much of the plot on this one because they are smaller, like billionaire chance encounter. The next one is his brother's story that I read, which is Mr. Mitchell, which is Jim and Avery's story. This book gave me the mom heart swoon. Jim is the CEO of Mitchell and Associates. He takes like a bunch of companies and builds them up, and he's a billionaire. He is on his way to London, and he didn't fly in his private jet. He flew in first class. Avery is on her way to London to meet up with her foster sister to get a week off without her baby Addison, and she gets moved up to first class and sits next to Jim, and the first thing that happens is Avery's baby daddy is very much of a drug addict. So the whole time he's like, no, you shouldn't be leaving, like, you're leaving me with our kid, like, you're such a bad mom, blah 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 blah. Jim takes the phone and is like, you better leave, like, I will have my lawyers and cops come, blah blah blah, and scares him away. They kind of have like a conversation, and life meets on the plane, and Once the plane ride is over, they go their separate ways. Avery is there with her sister and is supposed to have this really fancy meal, but they don't. Her sister doesn't end up showing up, and Jim's in the exact same restaurant as her, and they meet up and they kind of do like a vacation there, where he takes her to his fancy castle and everything like that. They get back to LA, and lo and behold, she got a job. Her sister ended up selling her company to Jim's company, and she got a job at Jim's like company without Jim even knowing, or vice versa. And they meet again. There's more drama to it, of course. She has a boyfriend, she has her kid, or the baby daddy has drug issues, she has a past, and she has a baby. And Jim and Addison, her daughter, like have the cutest relationship, and you just like mom swoon over how well Jim takes care of Addison and what he wants to do for them. Highly recommend. And then the third book of this series so far, because there, like I said, 3 more books will be part of this Billionaire Club series, is Dr. Brooks and Dr. Elena Alvarez. Jeez Louise, can I talk? Their story is so beautiful. Jake and Colin go off to a medical conference in Vegas, and they both state like, no, we don't date anybody in the medical professional world, so we just joke around. It's their last night at this medical conference, and Colin turns around and there's Elena dancing, and he's like, I'm gonna be your future husband. That's like their first encounter. He even says like, I'm gonna be your future husband. And she's like, oh, okay. Lo and behold, he is the top neurosurgeon, with Jake being the cardiologist at the same hospital that Jim, Dr. Mitchell, or Mr. Mitchell owns. So he's a neurosurgeon, and then lo and behold, Elena becomes his neurotherapist. So they work hand in hand together. They instantly become a couple. It is not a slow burn. They're fast, quick. They even propose within like a few weeks. Kind of, that's how fast. Elena ends up getting in a snowboarding accident, hitting a tree and getting life flighted to Dr. Brooks's, who is Colin's neurosurgeon, to get emergency surgery to fix everything. She wakes up and can't remember the last 10 years of her life. Can't remember Colin or anything else going on. I'm not gonna ruin anything else from there. This book made me cry so hard with everything that goes on. It is 110% worth it. Go read. Yeah. The next book is Diver's Heart. This is like the most crazy reverse harem I've ever read. It's nothing traditional. It's not like mafia or gang related or anything like that. Like typically reverse harems have a lot of like mafia, gang, something going on that like has like a huge plot about to happen. Where this is 5 divers who are world renowned to explore and find treasures or anything like that. It starts off with Peyton saying no to Tyler's proposal, with Finn, Kellen, and Riggs right there. She realizes she's in love with all 4 of the boys, but can't tell Tyler that, so she leaves. 3 years later, she gets a call from one of the wealthy billionaires to explore this cave. Lo and behold, Tyler, Riggs, Finn, and Kellen are all there as well for this dive. It's a huge underwater cave that they need to work all together again to explore this cave. It's very dangerous, everything about it. So they go to explore this cave, and Tyler and the boys are all still really mad at Peyton for leaving because they were all in love with her as well. But they know to do this, they have to kind of put their hatred aside so that they can work together as a team because their lives are on like stake with it. This cave gets really dangerous. There are spooky things that happen. The spice in this is incredible. The love connections that happen are incredible. The adventure, like, I could have read this and not had one spicy scene and just been dove straight right into it because of the adventure that was going on. It like kept your heart racing because like of everything that does happen and like the twists and turns. Go read it. Like, even if you don't like reverse harems too much, like, this was worth that little bit. The next one is 4 by Sarah Kate, and I think her name's Rachel. I will put it, or it will be in the cover. This is with Iris, Baron, Silas, and Gabriel. Silas' biological son is Baron, and Gabriel is the adopted son, so they are the Black family. Iris, it starts off with Iris's dad, who is a mafia king, one of the head, I think that would be, make him a Don of our father. I don't know how the mafia works, the names. Anywho, he's like the mafia king, and that makes her princess kind of thing. And typically in mafias, they like marry off their daughters and stuff to this one guy, and her dad like takes it back and doesn't want her to, so the house gets ambushed and her dad's sending her away, and within that last breath that he gets shot in, he says, go find Silas Black. She goes and finds Silas Black. Lo and behold, he owed her dad a favor, so he's gonna protect her. They are not part of the mafia, they are assassins, so she wants to get her revenge on who killed her father. Lo and behold, their assassin life kind of falls in together with it. Gabriel was adopted at a young age of 6 into the Black family, and Silas trained him into being a assassin as well at that time. And you find out more about the Black family while figuring out Iris's background, and lo and behold, she falls in love with all of them, and yes, even the dad. So they all have a relationship together, and it ends beautifully, and how it all comes about, and she gets her revenge. Okay, the last 2 books we got are, one's a book and one's a series, or standalone I should say. So the standalone is my best friend's daddy. I'm kind of in like the daddy trope, age gap relationships. This one is Declan and Maddie. Declan is a Scottish guy, and Maddie is like a fresh 19-year-old who's like messed up at college really bad without realizing it. She didn't accidentally, but she sent a risque picture to a gentleman, and lo and behold, it happened to be her professor, and the TA found it and spread it around. Declan is Maddie's best friend's dad, and he finds her on the street after getting she fell down and like hurt her knee, and so he helped her because it was like, of course, like, that's my daughter's best friend, so I'm gonna help her. And he realizes she's like really broke and can't pay for much, and all this stuff that leads to them kind of being in a relationship and realizing that they have feelings for each other, because he already like divorced his ex-wife and all this other stuff. What I didn't care for this book was that it was like kind of campy and cheesy. It wasn't like, it's really, really short. It's like 170 pages. Like, it flew by like that, which is fine. It was just kind of a little bit boring. The way that they kind of fell in love was kind of a little weird, but it was good in the sense like it moved really fast. Like, there wasn't a whole lot of like extreme detail, but it like moved a little too fast. Like, it would be like, okay, a week later, 3 weeks later, a month later. So it was like, okay, so what happened in between those times? Otherwise than that, is fine. The Keens of Linwood Academy. This is a 3-book series which goes The Help, The Lie, and The Risk. This is with Harlow, Lincoln, Dax, Chase, and River. Dax and Chase are twins. Harlow's mom and her moved from Arizona to Connecticut to Fox Hills area. Harlow's mom was hired as Mr. Black, who is Lincoln's dad's like executive housekeeper. So they're living in the Black household, and Lincoln hates Harlow, not because of who Harlow is, but because of his past with different kinds of maids, which you find out throughout this series. Harlow kind of falls in protection of the Keens, who are Lincoln, Dax, Chase, and Rivers, like umbrella, because obviously they end up starting to... So Lincoln makes Rivers' life hell at school because like they don't fraternize with the Help kind of thing, but like they got into the same school because Mr. Black put her there. With that being said, Lincoln, River, Dax, and Chase all go to a poker night one night after hearing that Harlow's really good at poker, and they bet her one big favor, like that you can't back out of. And lo and behold, River wins that. So he takes her up on that offer and ends up going to a strip club to get blackmail on somebody. They end up watching a girl named Iris get killed that night, and that's when things get tumbled and out of control. I'm not gonna spoil what goes on, but there's a bunch of twists and turns and like trying to figure out who it is. She does fall in love with all 4 boys. One of the things that kind of put me off about this series and that it dropped points, it could have been a 15 out of 10 easily, but what drove me up a wall about this book is River is hearing impaired. Like he's deaf in one ear and like barely anything, he can barely hear in the other. And with that being said, being the background that I have, like it drove me up a wall that they would say like, oh, the reason River doesn't ever drive is because it's too dangerous, or they would say stuff like that that just like made me question, did the writer not look into this? Because deaf people can do anything that hearing people can except for hear. Like it's not, it's not dangerous for deaf people not to drive. Like they can drive just fine, like just because the sirens or whatever. Like there was just lines like that that just really just irked me a lot from that. But otherwise than that, this storyline was really well. It was a bully high school romance. Like for me personally, like high school kind of is weird to me because like obviously I'm almost 30, and so like I don't believe that high schoolers would be doing most of this stuff, but at the same time I'm like, it is what it is. I'll just put them like in college age in my head. And it's not like school's like their biggest point of concern, and if it is, like just put them in college in my head. But anyway, those are my 18 books. There was series, there are standalones, whatever you need. I did read a lot of more reverse harms, I feel, but everything was really, really good. And the only one that I probably rated below a 10 was My Best Friend's Daddy. Otherwise than that, I hope this gives you some good book recs. Again, follow me on TikTok. We'll have 100% book recommendations. I do post book reviews on my Instagram, and I also use Goodreads, so if you want to follow me there as well. I love you guys oh so much. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you never miss anything that we're posting. Love you guys. Mwah. Bye.
It's turning out to be a perfect day. I just wanna leave our normal lives behind us. So let's get lost out here. No one else out here. Find ourselves out here. Oh, we could disappear into this atmosphere where this water's clear. Yeah.